We're told, Jason, that in Greater Accra, we've had a number of cases recorded of cholera, over 4,000 cases, over 5,000 cases just in Greater Accra alone. Countrywide, we've had cases in excess of 10,000. So far, just a little over 70 deaths have also been recorded. Would you say it's a two-way affair, an issue of perhaps a lax in people's attitudes and then enforcement of regulations, perhaps also by city authorities or public health officials, that may have put Ghana in this very state of an outbreak?
It's a sad state, you know what? About a week ago, I was parked at the forefront of HFC Bank in the evening, and your good station did a story where one of your uncles was at a hospital, one of the polyclinics apparently, and witnessed a woman lose her life right in front of his eyes. By the time the program was over, I had tears streaming down my cheeks. I mean, it was, for the want of a better word, poignant and pathetic that in the 21st century, whilst people have sealed drains, whilst countries are struggling to commit resources to go to space, we have our president jumping into the gutters to clean field. The last time a president cleaned gutters in this country, we were in a state of apparent revolutionary turmoil, where we were thinking that there should be hope for the future. Fast forward over 20 to 30 years, a president is still jumping into the gutters. What picture does that paint? It gives us an idea of clear failure in progress and in leadership. Because if the commitment demonstrated by Jerry John back then was that let's put all hands on deck to keep our country clean, and that you take up the mantle in doing that, then we have failed because we are going backwards. John Mahama is repeating the same thing, telling us that for the past 20 years, we've not moved an inch forward. The argument may be made, and a lot of the times, the politicians like to jump on that bandwagon that the people are not responsible, that the people are not clean, that the people are filthy. But hey, I beg to differ. If we as a people could just, by Jove, do the right things, if we could just keep the environment clean, if we could just obey all the traffic regulations, if we could wake up and say, look, I'm going to do what is right every day, day in and day out, then one, we will have no need for the law, we will have no need for the police, and then we will have no need for the metro authorities. So that if, for the growth of our society, for the collective interest, we struggle and pay taxes, and we put into place office, metropolitan authorities who cannot fulfill the basic mandate of making sure that our society is clean, then we have a problem. There has been a total systemic failure and irresponsibility at the level of governance in this country. And it seeps through the various agencies as well. The AMA, they have a lot of tasks. In fact, if you go into it, you realize that there is so much they should do. But the fundamental one that every Ghanaian can see is that they should keep Accra clean. You understand? And year in and year out, government after government, they've not been able to pass this.
Well, Jason, I get
test.
your point, but
I mean, it's deplorable.
But Prince, how does it work that city authorities, based on their setup and the regulations that tend to guide them, indicates that they need to keep cities clean or their districts, etc., clean, but then the people who are supposed to make sure that the heaps of refuse don't get backed into the gutters don't tend to have that same feeling. There's not commensurate empathy between the two. This one cleans, this one puts the rubbish back. So where lies the effectiveness?
I think it's a two-way thing. You know, government or city authorities have responsibilities of making sure that the refuse are, as it were, taken from the end point to the what we call it, where they're supposed to dispose it. But citizens also have equal responsibility in ensuring that they properly dispose the refuse. In this case, we tend not to be responsible in that regard. What we do is that we indiscriminately dispose the refuse, which is a major challenge to city authorities. Yes, city authorities ought to anticipate that whilst population grows, there will be the possibility of us having such challenges, and therefore making sure that we have measures in place. Especially when I was growing, we used to have these sanitary inspectors, the environmental officers, and before, I mean, weekly, they visit you. And because our parents were aware that on a weekly basis they were visited by these officers, each person keeps his home very clean, tidy before they even arrive. So what happened along the line? You know, what I have realized as a local government practitioner on the ground is that most of these environmental officers, if you report incidents like this to them, you have just given them an avenue of making money.
Okay, we have on the line Dr. Simpson Boateng. He is the Public Health Director for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Dr. Boateng, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Okay.
Please, if you can raise your voice, it's very faint.
I'm actually shouting in the studio, so I'm wondering, okay, but don't worry on the subject. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's
Okay.
It's too low.
Is this still too low?
Yes, it is.
How many cases of cholera have we recorded so far?
Well, as of yesterday, we had registered nearly 5,000 cases in Accra alone, with about 50 deaths.
And if you say Accra, what boundaries are we talking about?
So we are talking about the jurisdiction of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. That is from, if you are going to Malam, you know, the Lafa River is the boundary. If you are talking about, you know, the eastern side, we get up to IPS. Or yes, IPS, that's the boundary, you know, between AMA and then the Ghana East.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're talking about just the jurisdiction of the Accra metropolis, excluding the other sub-metros?
Yes, excluding the other, not sub-metros, the other metropolitan assemblies.
So, like Tema,
Yeah, Tema is
Ashaiman,
different. Ashaiman
Adan area is different,
yes,
Dodowa area is different.
Yes, I'm talking only about the jurisdiction of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Even Labadi is different.
Even Labadi is different.
Yes, it's a metropolis.
It's a metropolis. Right. Now, this gives us a magnitude of a problem for which it seems the public health officials like you and your outfit don't seem to have a serious grasp on. True or not?
No, you see, we don't have a serious grasp on.
Well, you
know,
do?
it is spreading very, very, very fast this time around. You know, we've had series of outbreaks, but this outbreak seems to be different. It's different in the sense that within a very short time, many people have been involved, have been affected, and many lives have been lost, you see. But it is as a result of the, you know, the habit, you know, of the people in the city. For instance, we realized that, you know, some time ago, we realized that many people, they don't have toilets in them. And you know the relationship between toilets and the cholera. You know, people were defecating in the open spaces into, you know, gutters and whatnot. You know, and we have also choked our drains with, you know, waste materials. So at the slightest rainfall, you see that there is flooding everywhere, and every house become, you know, contaminated, especially the utensils and whatnot. So that is what is actually causing the spread of the disease. And one thing too, we have realized that areas like Agogosi, Odona, Agege, you know, these are areas where they have serious sanitation, you know, challenges. You know, why? Because these are unplanned areas, and because they are unplanned, there are no toilet facilities, there are no good potable drinking water, you know, and the people are overcrowded. You see, so these are all recipe for, for the spread of the disease. So it is not as if we don't have a grip of them, but it is because the magnitude of the problem is so big, and we are doing all in our, you know, all possible.
Do I get the feeling, if I do the analysis, that because you are the end of the chain, that is a health chain, you are not in a position to do a lot more about what needs to be done at the beginning of the chain, i.e., or for example, what needs to be done to sensitize people, and then collection of refuse, enforcement of regulations. Before, when people get sick, they come to you. Is that it?
No. You see, unfortunately, that is a perception and a wrong one at that. You see, we have been doing the education all the time, but when the first cholera cases started coming, we intensified the education, and we have involved a lot of stakeholders in the educational campaign that we have embarked on. We have involved the NADMO people, the Ministry of Information. We have involved what we call NCCE, social welfare. In fact, everybody now is on board, and we have a lot of vans from the Ministry of Information, and then our own vans. We have intensified the education. You see. Now, the other thing we are doing is that, recently we didn't have any final disposal site for our refuse, the waste generated by CRA. Before, we were dumping in open, quarry sites. When all these sites got filled up, we had nowhere to dump. So we had to travel all the way to Pome, which is beyond Tema, to dump our distance. And just imagine, a contractor who was previously dumping at an area near Malam maybe could do about 3, 4, 5 trips in a day. Now, because he had to go to Pune, he could not do that number of runs, and that's how come we had, heaps of refuse all over. But fortunately, we have come over that, and we have secured 2 final disposal sites in Accra. That is one at Sonitra. Sonitra is not very far from Malam, and then the other one is at Insomnia. Insomnia is also not very far from Amasama. So we don't have to go to going to dump again. You see, so these are some of the things that we have done. We have also, started what we call clean-up exercises in all the 10 sub-metros in Accra. And if you go around this time, you wouldn't see, the what we call the heaps of refuse that used to be around. In the area of liquid waste, we have also, Lavender Hill.
Yes.
Lavender Hill has been in existence for a very long time. Now, what we are doing is that very, very soon we are going to decommission Lavender Hill because we have acquired 6 digesters. We are going to convert the fecal matter into what? Manure. We've started. So
okay.
now.
So now we know that, well, there's also the private firm, that's the Compost Plants Limited, that also tends to process about 300 tons of waste, so to speak, and that's small in magnitude. But the point is, if we look at the sources that you are suspecting to be the main factors, causative factors for this very outbreak, we take the refuse and we take the liquid waste. If refuse is generated, is heaped somewhere, how then does it become infected with whatever organism that causes cholera? Is it because there's fecal matter in there, or that is tied and put in there?
The truth of the matter is that there are so many houses with that toilet in them. So what people do is that they defecate into, this plastic bags,
and put it in the waste.
Pardon?
And then they put it in the waste.
Yeah, they put it in the waste.
Oh, okay.
We have a lot of evidence. We have a lot of pictures to show it. So and when the waste is exposed, go over this and this cholera, bacteria, they can on the legs of the flies for up to about 14 days. So when the fly touches any food, it contaminates the food. Somebody unsuspecting goes and buy the food, he eats the food and he gets the cholera. So that is the way it is. But we are also suspecting strongly that the source could be from some of the sachet waters that are being vended around. Some of them are done under serious unhygienic
You mean some or all of them?
No, some of them. I can't say all of them.
So have you tested them already, and so you are drawing that very conclusion? Because I drink sachet water a lot, even at home.
Yes, but you see, there are some, credible ones, ones that may not give cholera. But there are some which are even produced in people's bedrooms, and we are told, and we are going to investigate, that some of them are being produced near gutters, and in fact, they are supposed to be filtered, but we are told that people use the pipe water.
Okay, Doc. Now, I have undertaken investigations in the past, before, when I was an active reporter, in which even people like the sellers at Kwame Nkrumah Circle, they buy the machines, they go print the rubbers, and they package the is it the mineral water, they call it the pure water, at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, and those are one of the infection points, right?
Yeah,
okay.
You see, and even the vendors, you see, those vending there, when they go to toilet, they must go to toilet. Where do they wash their hands with soap and water? There are no, because that area, we have a lot of pictures to show people defecating openly into the drains there. And these are people living in the slums around that area, and that is the people who are selling the water.
And then, and then also, when you walk through Accra streets, especially when we have peak hours of traffic, you have people who sell, is it pawpaw and other fruits. And when you investigate correctly, many of their produce are just washed by the roadside. And sometimes they don't tend to sanitize them adequately before they sell to the unsuspecting public. How do you hope to clamp down on some of these activities?
You see, street hawking is against the bylaws of the Accra Metropolitan.
I know. Don't quote the law. We all know the law. What are you going to do as the Environmental Health Department to make sure this is clamped down on? Because we now have a difficulty on our hands.
Yes, you see, I don't know whether you noticed it, but we have started clamping down heavily on them. We have started seizing this water, and not only the water, any food which is being vended outside, because we know that this could be the cause of the spread.
When did you start that? Because yesterday I went through traffic. I mean, from the Tigo area or the TUC area to Cathedral, people sold water in the afternoon, and people were buying.
But we have to, you see, we cannot be everywhere at the same time. Even today, we are going to go out. We are doing it, and we have the evidence. We have been taking pictures. So they are there. We can make them available to you. We can't be everywhere at the same time, but we are doing it, and gradually it will catch on, people, and then they will start, stopping all these things.
So, since the outbreak started in Accra, is it possible that some of the peripheral outbreaks we're getting is also because people from inner city may have contracted and gone outer city?
It is very possible. You see, the first cases were registered in Agogwesi area, and then the Odona area. So, and if you go to Agogwesi and the Odona area, these are the areas where most of the food that is being sold in the city are prepared. And we have pictures to show that some of them are being prepared under very serious unhygienic conditions. So it is very likely that, the cases started from within the city, that is the Agogwesi area, and then it spread. Now, initially we were getting cases from only those slums, but now we are getting it from all over the city.
Okay, so do you think the numbers will start coming down? Have we seen the worst yet? Because it doesn't seem as if we've seen the worst. The cases have started increasing again.
Well, and that is why we are calling on everybody to be part of the educational campaign, because we think education is very, very key, and it should not be limited to only the health sector or the assembly. Everybody must be involved, and so that the disease can come down.
Okay, thank you very much, and we hope to. You seem to be going around taking a lot of pictures, but we need you also to be taking a lot more action. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Simpson Boateng is the Public Health Director for the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and talking to us about what has been happening as far as the cholera outbreak in the Accra Metropolitan area. And apparently the metropolitan area, according to the jurisdictions, based on the regulations of the Local Government Act, is just within a specific area of Accra. So you have Labadi, you have the outskirts.
Lekma. Labadi is a municipal assembly.
Yes, you have Lekma,
yes.
That's Teshi area. So Accra is huge. Okay. It means that this is
it's a serious issue.
It's a serious issue.
Throughout his submission.
But he says that people's attitudes are critical. So it means
that's what I was saying. But throughout his submission, you could see that he never mentioned about punitive measures, which the bylaws are very clear about it. People ought to be punished. You see, because you educate them as to the prevention.
But then you take punitive
you have
actions.
to, because some
they
of
flout the
regulations. But it appears that when you even report to the Public Health Directorate about conduct of people within our society, what they do is rather turn around, go for material gain. Some of the officers will go for material.
These times of cholera.
It's possible because you see, it started from somewhere. Before we got to this particular place, it becomes like a habit. People know that, look, I can do this with impunity, and yet can get my way out. If I give something small, the law will, the people that are supposed to be there to take care of such situations will let me go. You see, we now have, even districts have courts now. So it is practically possible that you go to see somebody who flouted the law, just arrange the person before the district court. Let them punish the person. It will serve as a deterrent to the rest at home. You know, as I agree perfectly that the government will have to do, and we, the citizens, will also have responsibility to stay clean within the confines of the law.
Well, Jason, people could be punished, but if people don't change the attitude of buying food on the roadside, buying perhaps unwholesome food, whether they are in a traffic intersection or driving through traffic, etc., it still means that the infection rates could go high than we've already seen.
Yes, but I rather find it sad the way we are discussing this issue. On the note that the AMA official ended, he said education is the key. Yes, it's true. Education is the key, but enforcement is a must. Like my brother said right here, enforcement is a must. The psychology of human society cannot be left unchecked. Let me tell you what. If you stepped out of your house right now and you saw your neighbor dumping refuse into the drains, do you have a number to a town council officer that you can call to take them up? I don't think so. Elsewhere, you dare not even pee in a corner because you know that Big Brother is watching you. The systems are in place and people are forced to go by the laws. But here is a situation whereby we have authorities that virtually go to sleep. And until there is a disaster, until a catastrophe befalls us, we don't see them acting. He made an interesting comment that one of the key issues was that there are a lot of homes without WCs and all that. But that's just an indictment on the AMA itself.
But to assist you,
it's the role of the AMA.
There's a bylaw that says that each household must have a toilet facility.
Well, we know that, but it's not enforced. Okay, so enforcement is key.
Yes.
Okay. And so
it's rather unfortunate that they would have to be turning turtle to tell the people that they are not doing what is right.
Okay.